So unfortunately, the Bearcats took a loss against Arkansas. So if I remember right, last week, our Sam, myself, and Dave all we predicted poorly. I think we all took UC. We were all right around the correct score, though. But the Bearcats took a loss 31-24 to the Razorbacks. Debut of a new quarterback, Ben Bryant, got the starting nod over Evan Prater. A lot of ups and downs with the offense. Bryant had, if you look at his stats, ended up being pretty good. 26 for 43, 325 yards, 2 touchdowns, just too many big mistakes. Big interception in the first half that Arkansas returned like 50 yards and scored right after that. There was a sack fumble in the early fourth quarter that, again, Arkansas scored right after that. So, basically 14 points off of 2 major turnovers. Bryant missed a few downfield throws that, we would have hoped Ritter would have made. So it's a first game. They played an SEC team. I'm not jumping off a cliff. I think, I was talking to some people today, some Bearcat fans, and they were already like, we need to replace Bryant. Like, this is a throwaway season for UC and blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, chill out a little bit. They were playing a strong, is Arkansas a great SEC team? I don't think so, but are they at least middle of the pack, if not maybe a little above average in the SEC? Probably. So for UC to go there, go toe-to-toe, have a chance to win, and even with those mistakes, have a chance to win, tie it late. They had a really bad offensive line holding penalty that basically UC had tied it. They had the long run from McClellan and went back because of the penalty, and then they got another penalty, and they went from probably a touchdown to not even getting a field goal because of the second penalty pushback. They ended up punting. So they got to clean some stuff up. They got to figure out how to keep their helmets on straight on their heads, and I'm still optimistic. I'm not going to say this is a throwaway UC season and it's over already because they lost to an SEC team on the road, a good SEC team. They didn't lose to Vanderbilt or something. Sorry, Vanderbilt fans. But they, there was some good things that happened. Probably as much of a worry to me is, beyond, can Bryant improve and grow is, I was a little worried that defense gave up that many yards, over 200, especially rushing. They gave up over 223 yards, I want to say, or 224 rushing and 223 passing. I think the question still is there from last year about when they play a SEC physical, type team, or does it show their major deficiencies? Speed wise, they even said last year Alabama speed wasn't the problem; it was their physicality when they played them. So I think that showed it again a little bit, and that's something they're going to have to deal with and improve on, especially as they go to the Big 12.
Yeah.
So the rest of your thoughts?
Yeah. So my thought was, the Bryant. If you listen to all the sports gurus, I listened to shout out to the not Cincinnati, but the CBS college football cover 3. And they did a little instant reaction after the games last night. And, most of them agreed that, Bryant wasn't an issue. He was a little nervous, shaky at the beginning, but he settled down when a couple of the Arkansas defenders went out. They had a couple of injuries in the secondary, and that's when he started to pick them apart a little bit. So that gives me a little pause because, they're playing backups, and he should have success against backups. He really didn't have much going on against the starters. The second thing is the defense. That was, if you listen to the Ohio State game, all Herb Street kept saying was, oh, they're missing, their 2 best receivers from last year. And then the guy got injured. So yeah, Stroud's not having a great game because he's not hitting, he's the rhythm. Not one person mentioned the 2 cornerbacks for UC going into the NFL. 9 people were drafted, right? So yes, the defense has to come together, and that was a very, very tough game for them to open up with. And, they've lost 3 games in 3 years, all to SEC teams. So, physicality, when they needed to stop, the quarterback for Arkansas got that 14-yard little scamper and picked up that first down that pretty much sealed the game. So Fickle said it's a learning experience. They needed this game to see where they were at, and they're going to be okay. And so, and Luke, we trust, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think they just need to clean some things up. Quarterback situation, I thought it was kind of a questionable call. I'm not saying I was a fan of either one of them, but I was with some UC fans during the game at a family party, and just like you were saying, they're jumping ship real quick. The quarterback, it was halfway through the first quarter. He had made a couple small overthrows, passes that were completed last year. We should have the other guy going. We should give it some time. It's first game. Between week 1 and week 2, you can do a lot. So hopefully that is what happens here.
Yeah, the touchdown pass that he just like missiled over the receiver's head, wide open. Little nervous there, I believe. So, what do you have, son?
Well, I'm going to be the guy that calls for Prater to start week 2. As far as I'm concerned, Ben Bryant is supposed to be accurate, and he missed 4 deep balls. 2 of them were probably touchdowns. And if he's not going to have the accuracy, I'd rather have Prater's legs in there so that he can run around and give that extra dynamic, because Bryant's not going. He's not mobile. He's not going anywhere. So I think Prater gives you that extra dynamic, especially if Bryant's not going to hit the deep balls. And the receivers were getting open all game, and he just couldn't hit them. So,
the other thing that's noteworthy of this game is how many damn helmets flew off the head.
Yeah.
When you are celebrating, you're shaking your head and your helmet falls off, something's wrong there. If being a coach, if our girls, taking a swing in softball and their helmet keeps falling off, you better know darn well that I'm going to be saying something to them. and like if the next person's helmet falls off, they've got a Sweet 16. And
it's a real game issue because you have to go out of play.
Right. Exactly.
Your helmet comes off. Exactly. So it's not like it'd be different if it was just put your helmet back on.
Right.
No big deal. And, but you literally have to come off. That's, was a continuous problem. I do make note of that. Their center got injured,
yes,
or was injured before the game, which was a big loss. I think he was maybe a 3-year starter. He's definitely a senior coming in.
He was
this year.
First team AAC.
So they had to shuffle a little bit on that. The rushing game wasn't too bad. They had good decent yards per rush type thing. So
yeah, Corey Kiner, Roger Bacon there, Mr. Football. Back home. So,
yeah, I'm optimistic. Arkansas is the best team on their schedule, so that's another thing to think about. They're going to Kent. They'll be playing Kennesaw State this week.
Yep.
The first home game. Again, is that going to tell you? And I think it tells you. It's going to tell us a lot playing at Kennesaw State. Then I don't know who they. Oh, then they got Miami again, another game who's not going to tell them a lot. Other than if they're if it's a challenging game for either of those, that tells you something. That's a problem. That's an issue. Right. But on the flip side, so does Prater get some snaps this week? Because they're playing a weaker opponent really the next 2 weeks, just to see. But if he does well against one of those two teams, does that really tell you anything? So that's the question mark. And kind of side note, but I'll throw it in at this moment. Like I'm hoping, as the Bearcats move to the Big 12. There are no more 2 weeks in a row where they're playing Kennesaw State and Miami. That kind of schedule needs to go bye-bye for a Big 12 team. You play one of them maybe, but what are you learning out of these next 2 weeks is my concern. So,
All right. Let's go ahead to the Reds. So Sam, what do you got on the Reds the week that was?
So they had a doubleheader today, lost the first game. I believe they ended up winning the second